Welcome, thank you for coming. Subscribe and like for more stories. This next topic was a subscriber's request. Warning, viewer discretion advised. Truck drivers of Reddit, what is your most NSFW story from the road? Pulled into a truck stop outside of Sacramento, real dive. I just wanted some coffee, and to take a crap. As I'm walking through the lot I see some sketchy looking homeless guy yelling at truckers demanding money. I decide to avoid the situation, cut between some trucks, and circle around the store. About a minute or two later I hear a gunshot. The homeless guy shot a trucker in the head. Two other guys tackled him, and held him for the police. I always wonder if I hadn't decided to avoid him if that would have been me. Edit to everyone asking, I didn't see the name of the truck stop. It was south of Sac on 99. This happened in the mid-90s. It wasn't a big chain truck stop like Pilot, Petro, or Flying J. Beep boop. A few times I've seen someone receiving roadhead, and once I had a convertible of college-age girls flash me their tits. But the funniest was a guy driving down the road with his topless girlfriend or wife. He was just holding a boob. He wasn't rubbing it, and they weren't doing anything else. He was just driving down the road holding a massive titty. My dad's a truck driver, called me really upset one morning about 7 years ago saying a girl my age, I was 16 then, was knocking on his window about 5:10 a.m., barefoot, and obviously high. She had little to no teeth, and didn't seem to have bathed in weeks. She was begging my dad to let her perform sexual services on him in exchange for like $10 US or something. It made him so upset that he bought her a hot chocolate, and a sandwich, gave her his blanket from his truck, and $50, and really hoped she wouldn't use it for drugs. I guess he thought of me when he saw her, I don't know. Really shook him. Not necessarily NSFW, but still pretty gruesome. My dad started driving in the 70s, and has always had great, and hilarious stories to tell, but never been much of a serious talker. No matter what I was going through, he hated hearing about any sort of emotion. One night I had confessed to my ma it was pretty tough getting through to him, that he seemed immune to serious conversation. She proceeded to tell me this story, hoping it'd clear some things up. These two kids had gotten into a wreck somewhere on the highway. One friend pulled the other out of the car, and put him on the road while going to get help. As the one friend was going to get help, the kid on the road got hit a second time by a different vehicle, but the kid was still alive. So while my dad was driving he saw this kid, just lying there in the middle of the road. Dad pulled over, got out, and held him until he stopped breathing. Mom said it really messed him up for a long time, and that he never really got over it. I always looked at my dad a bit differently after hearing that. He was only about 21 years old when that had happened to him, and I think it had a major impact on him. Edit. Thank you for the silver. Have spent years on Reddit without a single comment blowing up, so I appreciate you all. Some of the best, and worst things that ever happened in my dad's life were while he was on the road. But he's still driving to this day as a means of providing. There's always been something about being on the road. It's like being the needle that grinds grooves of a record. All you great truckers out there, keep on trucking. My dad's been a truck driver for over 30 years, and his story he tells all the time is before the age of cell phones. He was running in the middle of the night, and came up on a flipped vehicle. About that time a state trooper pulled up. The trooper, and him followed bloody footprints through the desert trying to find the driver. They never found anyone. Another time it was a similar situation, but it was an extended van with a group of people, and children. He had to help find the bodies in the dark that had been scattered from the van flipping. My friend's dad was apparently driving one day, and a turkey fell out of a tree, broke through the window, and he was just covered in blood, but he was apparently less than a mile from completing the delivery. Apparently they thought he killed someone before they saw the turkey. Used to assist in liability claims for trucking companies. What a nightmare. Best NSFW stories involved the multiple times truckers ended up in the back of their trucks trying to score with a lovely lady, who then proceeded to rob them blind, and or steal the cab. We had 2 calls in 1 month involving truckers in Texas where the drivers were found naked in the back of their trucks with no wallets or ID at all. Police were calling us to identify them, and figures out how to get them back on the road. One guy lost a full load from Circuit City because he thought it was his lucky day. Didn't matter how many times we warned the drivers or told the stories. SFW was the guy who stopped off at home en route to deliver a load, found his wife with her boyfriend getting cozy. He walked back to the truck, put it in gear, and parked it in their living room. No one died, but try to explain to your insurance carrier how this was an accident. Years ago there was a similar question on here, and this truck driver got on, and proceeded to tell a tale of him witnessing one truck driver's pet chimp kick the crap out of another truck driver's pit bull. I saw a lot lizard empty her contents by hanging her ass out of a truck window, then move along to the next truck. Driving northbound I-15 through Cajon Pass, I saw a really nice classic Buick parked on the side of the freeway with its hazards on, looked to have broke down. Upon closer inspection, an older woman had stopped, dropped her pants, hit the hazards, and was dropping a massive deuce with her ass hanging out of the driver window. Different story, at the Flying J in Ehrenberg, I stopped for fuel and jerky. While I was walking in, I noticed a driver yelling at a recreational reptile to leave him alone, and let him sleep, and this was the last time he was gonna tell her. So I did my shopping, and on my way back to start fueling I noticed the driver from earlier taking off from his spot, and driving towards the lot lizard. I was thinking effing great, I'm about to witness a murder, and have to deal with taking statements, and crap. Nope, dude got his truck up to about 15 miles per hour, rolled the window down, and whipped a jug or something I'm gonna guess wasn't lemonade at her, and drilled her center mass. So this piss-soaked lot lizard goes sprinting into the travel center, and about 5 seconds later people started pouring out the front doors like the place was on fire. By the time I was done fueling, the cops had came, and were tossing her in their cruiser while taking turns dry heaving. Best part is I was about 50 yards upwind of all this. Driving northbound in Utah heading to Brigham to deliver a load, get past Ogden, and it just starts downpouring like a Texas storm. It also happens to be 8 p.m. and pitch black out. Happened to roll by the scene of an accident where a gentleman was hanging out the driver's side window of a 90s Tacoma with a white sheet barely covering him, and covered in blood. His head only half attached to his body. The tires of the truck were bald as crap, and given the pole that the truck was wrapped around, it's obvious what happened. Wear your seatbelt, people, and be safe. I don't want to see another semi-decapitation. Edit. Rip inbox. Highest rated comment is about a dead guy. My dad is a truck driver, UK, and European, and has been all my life. I used to go away with him during school holidays. I've spent a lot of my childhood in, and around trucks, and truck drivers, and I've pissed in lots of water bottles. When I was around 7 I went along during a run down through France. To pass the time we were playing games such as Go Through the Alphabet, and you have to think of a boy's name with that letter, and other games like Go Through the Alphabet, and you have to think of a girl's name with that letter. The next thing I know we're in a small French town, and stuck in a one-way system, unable to proceed due to the ever-narrowing road ahead. Dad stopped, he told people to move, he started to reverse, then there was a bang. Dad got out of the truck. A crowd formed. I sat on the bed, and ate sweets. Then the gendarmerie came. While reversing, my dad had accidentally gone through the front of a salon. I remember the policeman motioning my dad to pull forward, and my dad motioning, and saying something offensive in trucker English. Then I heard another crash. I'm sure a camera crew turned up at this point. When we pulled forward, the brick and glass, being held up by the trailer, all fell down, and landed on top of the gendarme's motorbike. Then we had to follow the police to a car park, and get in their car. I remember they were armed, and because my dad's a trucker, red asshole, he told me not to worry because if I cried then they would shoot us. I cried a lot, for hours, and apparently that's why they let us go with just a fine. I also got a huge pack of stickers, and all the sweets they could find. TLDR, dad trashed a French salon, and ruined a gendarme's bike, and me being 7, and wailing like a banshee got us off scot-free. I'm a little late to this party, but this is a pretty interesting story. My mom was a truck driver for a little bit when I was just out of high school. I took a trip with her from Texas to Louisiana, stopped at a truck stop outside Baton Rouge. We got approached by a prostitute. My mom said she wasn't interested because she wasn't gay. The prostitute said, I'm both male and female, I have a vagina and penis. My mom, being the curious sort she is, asked how that was possible. They said I'm a real hermaphrodite. I was born with a working vagina and penis. My mom said she would give them $10 to see. They agreed. This person had a vaginal opening, testicles, and working penis. We ended up talking with them for about 30 minutes about hermaphroditism. It was pretty interesting conversation. Didn't drive, but worked in safety for a large OTR company. Our log system had a camera option so drivers could take pictures during pre-trips or if they were involved in accidents. Had a driver quit, and when we were getting the truck ready for someone else we discovered he had made the home screen of his log tablet a naked picture of someone he had in his truck. It was terrible. The worst part was we could not figure out how to change it back. I had just started working for a large corporate company. There was extra money to be made if your first truck or recovery truck someone quits, and just leaves a truck somewhere, You get a ride with another driver, and pick it up. This truck happened to be on the US/Canada line, at the inspection station. I see the truck sitting there, with this crate strapped to the back on the fifth wheel. It's maybe 4x6x3, which is odd. I go into the customs station. Tell them I am here to get the truck, and show them my paperwork. The guy at the desk give me this "you poor fool" look, and says I hope you have a strong stomach. Gives me the keys. I go to the truck, and open the door. The smell of crap, and other human body odors, just about knocks me on my ass. This truck is a wreck inside. There's a pile of crap about 2 feet high against the side of sleeper. The mattress is just soaked with piss. One of the cabinets was filled with crap. Turns out the last driver was busted when he tried to cross the border with the truck. Got stopped for an inspection. Needless to say, the smell tipped off the inspectors. The better things to list is they found 2 naked women tied up in the sleeper, a loaded .38 special, trafficable amounts of cocaine. Needless to say, he was locked up. The crate on the back of the truck was all his personal effect they were not keeping as evidence. I did not drive the truck back. I have no clue what they did with it. TLDR, tried to recover a truck for some extra cash, turned out to be filled with human crap, and piss, and was being used to traffic humans, and drugs. I had a lot lizard drop her false teeth on my junk, really killed the mood. Watched a couple solicit a lizard, have a threesome in the truck, didn't see that part, but we know when the truck is rockin', and pay her, hug her, and send her on her way. Not exactly a truck driver, but have spent a number of nights at truck stops from the age of 13 on, 32 now. I grew up drag racing, and back when I was younger where me and my family loved it was minimum a 2.5-hour drive to the closest track, but we used to travel to a lot of tracks that would be over 5 hours away. This resulted in a lot of nights spent in truck stops, mostly with me sleeping in the back seat of the truck, bed of the truck, or in the trailer with the race car. A few quick stories of what I've seen. Naturally, a lot of lot lizards. They aren't as prominent as some think, but they are definitely out there. One night while sleeping in the bed of the truck, I overheard a truck driver arguing with an older woman over the cost of a blowjob. Apparently $40 was too much for this guy. This lasted for about 5 minutes until the woman left. About 5 minutes later, I hear the same guy talking to another guy I assume was a truck driver as well. He was telling this new guy about the woman wanting to charge him $40 for a blowjob. The guy then says something along the lines of, "Hell, I'll suck you off for half that." I assume the guy accepted that offer because I heard both of them hop into the cab of one of the trucks next to me. I was about 14 to 15 at the time. I was also propositioned by a mother-daughter team that looked to be 35 and 18 at most. I was about 16 to 17 at the time. There's other stories, but those are the only 2 that come to mind. Edit. I did not take the mother-daughter combo. I was about 16. All the money I had was spoken for in having to use it at the race, and also I was traveling with my stepdad and mother. My father-in-law's dad, grandfather-in-law, was driving through a pretty sketch part of New York in the 70s. He was in Vietnam, and not the nicest human. I guess there was an area known for truckers getting robbed due to slow-moving traffic. Just cut your lines, and take your crap. He was driving through this area, and a dude just hopped up on the steps of his cab. So since he was holding his .45, presumably for this reason, shot the dude point blank in the chest, and just kept going. Somehow nothing came of it. Pretty insane in my opinion. I'm technically not a truck driver, but I work for a company who does a lot of trucking. Last month we had a driver killed on the road because someone blew a red light. He swerved to miss them, and rolled the truck, crushing him. Doesn't get much more horrific than that. Edit. Missed a word. About 20 years ago I was heading down Snowshoe on I-80 in Pennsylvania. Flatbed passed me, and after he got about a 1/4 mile in front of me the brake lights came on, and he started swerving all over. Ended up in the median, upright, but jackknifed into the driver's side. Turns out he hit a bear, which went through the windshield. Bear survived it, and went on attack mode. I, and 2 other drivers got to him in time to see this bear flipping out inside the cab attacking the guy. Right behind us was a state trooper. He ran up to the truck, yanked the passenger door open, and shot the bear twice. Bear turned around, and started towards him, and he unloaded into it. That guy was tore the F up, and no, he didn't make it. I'm just here for the lot lizard stories. Watched a woman driving snort white powder off of a CD case with a kid in a car seat in the back. Tennessee. A trucker purposely hit my best friend's uncle while he was on a motorcycle. The trucker ran his pockets, and took his ID, and his plates, and left him for dead on the road. Even though he was mangled beyond recognition, he was conscious, and he begged the trucker to leave some ID behind so his family wouldn't be left to wonder what happened. The trucker laughed and drove away. Somehow he survived, but he's paralyzed neck down. Oddly, my friend's father is also a trucker. The world's been cruel to that family. Not a truck driver, but my dad was. Since he was a long-haul trucker, we would go with him during summer break. So one late night in the plains of Oklahoma, on a very straight and very long run in the distance, we could see tail lights switching back and forth, over and over again. We finally managed to catch up, and Dad comes across the CB asking if we could pass. A lady comes over and says that we could. Well, apparently there was 3 trucks total. We passed the first truck, and it was complete dark in the cab. We passed the second truck, same thing, complete darkness. We go to pass the lead truck, and it's a woman driver with her titties out, and playing with toys. I'm around 13 to 14 at the time, so needless to say I was happy. Well, the lady came back over the CB, and asked if we enjoyed the show, and wanted to know if we wanted to slow down for another view. Politely my dad said we enjoyed it, but was behind. Apparently the 2 trucks in the back were taking turns swapping lanes to get a view. Not a truck driver, but I do know someone who shot at a truck driver while driving down the interstate. The local drivers knew the guy, and didn't like him because he would basically just record drivers doing illegal maneuvers, and then sell the tapes to the companies. One day he claims that the truck driver saw him, and tried running him off the road, so he pulled out a gun, and shot right into the cab. He claimed self-defense in court, after firing from a moving vehicle, and even tried to get some of my friends to lie in court for him. They didn't, but he ended up doing about a year. I was an OTR driver for the weirdest year of my life. Lot Lizard tried to get into the truck with my husband/driving partner while I was in the back sleeping. We had heard you should be nice, and park a specific way because otherwise they can unhook your trailer, and you'll be ducked when you leave. Watched a large woman in the middle of arguing with the voices in her head have a full psychotic break, and scare the crap out of a waitress. I have more, I'll be back. My dad drove trucks for the first 18 or so years of my life. I went with him a lot when I was a kid. Most gruesome thing I have ever seen was an accident where a semi hit a cow, blood and guts effing everywhere. The truck was pretty much demolished. No horror movie has even come close to as grody as that sight. Saw a guy get door checked by cops, and he flew into a chain link fence. One of the cops jumped out of the moving car and started beating his ass. That was not a good part of St. Louis to be parked in overnight. My dad slept in the driver's seat with a Beretta on the dash that night. You'd be surprised how many men and women you see driving down the road in various stages of undress. You don't really notice it when you're in a car, but from a higher vantage point, yeah. Also, I saw way more masturbating than roadhead. And yes, I learned to curse at an extremely young age. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.